This is the GPL podcast from GopherPuckLive.com. This podcast is sponsored by Jerry Peters and First Class Mortgage. Our expertise, your peace of mind. Visit us at firstclassmortgage.com. Now, here's Jupe and Vigo. Good evening and welcome to the GPL podcast, episode number 222. Well, Vigo, we took a couple weeks off, or 1 week off, because I felt like celebrating my birthday, so I did. And we've had a lot of hockey since our last podcast.
Yeah, 2 weekends of action. You know, the first big road trip to Ohio State against a very veteran squad out in a quiet arena, challenging atmosphere, and then Notre Dame at home, which I thought was a pretty good series for the Gophers.
Yes, I would agree. Before we get to the pretty good, though, Bob was not happy with the performance Friday night at Ohio State.
Yeah, I think he was concerned about it all week. You know, sometimes when you're coaching a team, you just get a sense during the week of practice that the guys are just not up for it. And they feel like they're just going to go into the weekend and they're going to be able to perform. When you're competing at a high level like the Gophers are, you can't really get away with that, especially against a veteran Ohio State team that's got a real good goaltender, some veteran players, and a good coach that knows how to prepare a team to play Minnesota. And I think it was a surprise for some of the Gophers to get in that environment. And, you know, Bob references after the weekend that just getting the one power play opportunity on Friday night was a big indicator that they just weren't working hard enough. You know, whereas the Wild the other night complained that they only got one power play because the rest were giving it to them. Minnesota didn't earn them at Ohio State, and they paid the price.
So a 6-4 loss. I saw the first period of that game, and then I had to go to an event, you know, kids' little play, which was fine. Like you said, it was just so lackluster. And that's the thing I always worry about with this team is, you know, like come off a big high and then all of a sudden, that's the one concern I've had this year is like, you know, they played so well and, you know, they had those two big emotional series with Minnesota State and North Dakota, go to Ohio State. That's what's frustrating. I mean, you got to be up for the dead games too. You can't just let it slide by. And it looks like Bob got the message through because Saturday night they played much better.
Yeah, the players all talked about a very stern film session from the coaching staff that morning. You know, they even referenced it during the Notre Dame series, knowing that Jeff Jackson probably gave his team a stern lecture on the Saturday morning after the Friday game. And it's positive that the players responded. I always think with college athletes, you know, there's such a highs and lows to the college game. That's why it's so entertaining that you could just kind of see it coming. So you really are interested in how the team reacts and grows from an opportunity like that. And to see them come out the next night, draw the 8 power play chances, play much cleaner, protect their goalie, compete more in the one-on-one battles. Because I think that's where they lost on Friday. They just weren't engaged enough to win possession consistently, and they kept giving Ohio State extra chances. That didn't happen so much on Saturday. I think one of the strengths of this Gopher team is suppressing the other team's offense. I think most period their opponents are getting 8 shots or less, especially in the opening period. Most teams are getting 7 shots against Minnesota. Well, in that Friday Ohio State game, you know, I think the Buckeyes were in the 30s for shots, in the 40s for attempts. They cut that back down on Saturday and paid much more attention to detail, which is what we expect out of Minnesota.
What was with the shorthanded breakaways? Liam and poor closer hung out to dry on that. Well, that was a Saturday game, right? From our yeah, that was
Yeah.
both the goals were shorthanded breakaways.
Yeah, I mean that's going to happen from time to time. Something to clean up and look at in film, but for the most part, I think Minnesota played pretty well.
Okay, so good learning experience. Then Notre Dame comes to town, and I know you had spoke at the beginning of this year. Notre Dame was one of your teams. It's going to be there at the end. It's going to be there the whole time. This is a big series, and like you just alluded to, Minnesota really played well. I mean, I think Friday night they had over. I think it was 54 shots on net against what Bob called not a defensive team, but a well structured team that just doesn't give up that many shots.
Yeah, it was strange to see the shooting gallery on display there on Friday night. I thought Minnesota did a great job winning second chances, which is what you have to do against Notre Dame. So often you can get one chance, but Notre Dame is so good in their structure that they're usually able to get to that next battle and win it. Something that was happening from my perspective on Friday was Minnesota was getting those second opportunities and continuing the pressure. I think one of the goals we saw the Pinot line out there with Middlestat applying a lot of pressure, Notre Dame trying to just, get rid of the puck and get a line change, and not everybody got off. And then Minnesota had a shift change, and I think it was the Nyes line that came on and got the first goal. And that's the kind of things that you have to do against Notre Dame. And actually, that's one of the things that I've seen Minnesota have a hard time doing in these contests. They don't string shifts together, but that's just a sign when you can do that.
The pieces and they can't do it. Yep.
Right. If you just link the chain together, you can create offense against a tired team that loses their structure. And it was an impressive performance. I mean, this Nyes line with Cooley and Snuggerud is certainly something to watch. I mean, they dominated on Friday night. I think they had 24 shot attempts.
I think Snuggerud had 11 shots himself. I believe the stats guys.
Yeah.
Tom's told me that he had 11 shots himself.
I mean, that's impressive. I think Nyes had 8, Cooley had 6. It looks like Cooley is being more of the distributor on that line.
Who would have thought that?
Yeah.
I mean, that first weekend against Lindenwood, they all of a sudden were like, "Ooh, let's go." Oh, hold on there.
Yeah, I think the line has 18 goals, and then the other 3 lines combined have like 14, 8, 3, and 3. So it's pretty impressive to see that line coming together right now.
Well, and they have been pretty successful at home where they do get last change and kind of can dictate that a little bit. To be determined how it goes along for the entire year. Obviously, the more successful they become, Vigs, the more teams will specifically try to shut them down.
Well, I asked Jeff Jackson a little bit about that on Saturday, and he basically said that the best way to defend that line is to hold on to the puck yourself, because once they get going in the offensive zone, it's really difficult to even try to contain them. So your best strategy as an opponent is when you're out against that line, don't give away the puck. And that's something that North Dakota did to Minnesota a little bit in their series. The Fighting Hawks started to just play a puck possession game along the boards and tire out that line. I think that's a strategy that they're going to have to figure out to negate in the future, because in the zone, those guys are flying around and they make some amazing plays where it looks like the other team has structure, and then all of a sudden there's a scoring chance.
One interesting note I heard from Tim Bruley sitting right next to me Friday night. Tim Bruley is the guy who created and runs USCHO.com, obviously a long-running site, great place. He's like, boy, I just don't think Close is that good. He just doesn't seem to have it for me. And then Close goes on to let in one goal on the weekend, and that one goal was a bad breakdown with under a minute with the game decided. It wasn't that bad. I'm not sure where Tim was coming from there, but it turns out, Close had a really, really good weekend.
He is a very solid, calm goalie. I don't think he's necessarily a goalie that's going to win you games if you're getting really outplayed. But when he can square up to shooters, play aggressive depth, and challenge the other team, he's going to be successful. You could see sometimes on the penalty kill, Minnesota, I think, is doing a better job at taking away the center of the ice. One thing to watch on the Gopher penalty kill is notice that all their penalty killers now have their sticks on the ice. That's something that I think drives coaches crazy when you're in lanes, but your stick's in the air. Minnesota's being much more disciplined about their sticks on the ice to break up passing lanes, and they're being better at taking away cross ice passes on the penalty kill, and that's going to help closer because he's a smaller goalie. He's not going to be just massively big,
And
so they
that's
really need to protect that.
but that's how didn't Nyes get his goal similar to that? He got in the way of a puck coming back and he took off, and then
The shorty.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were trying to force it through the middle of the ice, and they got sticks on it. It tipped out. Nyes kind of chipped it past the D, and then he won the race the other way. He made a nice move on the breakaway, which he says he's not a great breakaway player, but he came through with the move there.
And then he ended up stealing a goal from I think Nelson later on, because he hit the puck right. It was on the line, and it looked like it was going to go over no matter what. So
hey, you want to leave no doubt on those.
That is true. That is true.
If you get the goals on that,
couldn't you have waited like a microsecond later? I think it was Nelson. My memory's not the greatest these days. Concerns: Hughlin, Pitlick. I still notice Hughlin out there a ton. He causes trouble. He just needs to break the seal. I mean, Pitlick did, and then he got in trouble for throwing his stick, but Hughlin hasn't scored since the regional last year.
And I think those chances are going to come. He's winning a lot of battles. He's getting pucks to the net. He's active. He moves his feet. I don't think he's throwing away chances. He's just a little snake bit right now. Pitlick, I got a little worried with him on Saturday. I thought he might be pressing a little bit, trying to do it on his own. He's got so much skill, and he's so good along the wall, and he's so explosive with his first couple steps. He was using it the wrong way a bit on Saturday. So maybe that's just him pressing a little bit, and he'll figure it out. But I do think those two players play well together because they do such a good job making plays off the wall.
And honestly, other teams should be concerned if those two just get anything going, because then that makes it much harder to stop the rest of the team when you have to concentrate on more than one line. And then, you've got other guys chipping in all over the place as well. But boy, I think all of us would just have a nice sigh of relief if Hughlin could get on the board and Pitlick get on the board again. Because Pitlick, like you said, you were concerned about the way he's playing Saturday night. He still kind of, for him, I think he kind of still has to make up for that North Dakota goal where he turned the game. If he can get one, just kind of get the flow going, that would be a really deadly line, Viggs.
Yeah, I'm not going to just take one game and say it's a problem. I think 7 and 77 will be fine together. I did think Brody Lamb kind of took his foot off the gas this last weekend. He didn't quite make as big of an impression as he had the last couple weekends. So I don't know if it's just, he's getting into a stretch and having a hard time finding to make plays with his line mates. But I feel like he kind of got lost a little bit on Friday and Saturday. So we'll see what happens. There was an interesting moment where Motzko was talking about, the depth of his forwards, as someone was asking, about Middlestat and Strobel kind of being interchangeable pieces in the lineup. And Bob basically said, we're doing that just because we started that way and we've been playing pretty well. But as things move along here, there might be other guys who have been in the lineup consistently. They're going to have to watch out because there's players gunning for their ice time. I think what he's insinuating is that there's going to be a time here pretty soon where Middlestat and Strobel are both in the lineup, and one of those other forwards is going to have to come out.
Connor Kurth. Yeah, he's got like 3 or 4 goals this year. So he's been doing well. What other bright spots are you seeing right now?
Yeah, I really like Kurth. I like Strobel. I like Middlestat. I think those guys are all making a case that they should be players that are in the lineup consistently. I think one of the things I've noticed about this freshman class is that they handle contact very, very well.
They
They're
do.
able to take a check and still make a play. They're able to take a check and not panic, whether it's in the offensive zone trying to advance the puck or it's on the breakout. It helps definitely for this Gopher team that they have one of the best blue line cores in the entire country and maybe college hockey history because they get the puck quick and they get out on the breakout. But I think they're doing a good job of supporting that.
Corey in the chat, Cooley doesn't have a 5-on-5 point since October 7th.
I'm not too worried. That line is dangerous. Probably half their shifts out there. And I think a lot of it's because of the vision and skill that Cooley pulls off. And Cooley is one of those players that handles contact too. He's shown a little bit more grit than I definitely expected. We kind of maybe compare him somewhat to Casey Middlestat in terms of like skill one-on-one and be able to make plays. Cooley's a much more complete player. He's able to take hits and show off that Cooley stuff. I sit in the press box next to Jess Myers, and every once in a while, Cooley will do something. We just kind of look at it. Cooley's doing that Cooley stuff again, and it's every night.
It's true. Mason Nevers, I've really liked how he's stepped up. He's been, I wouldn't say a superstar, but boy, he's been so solid as an upperclassman and literally showing leadership.
Yeah, I mean, he's stepped into that penalty killing role along with Jackson Nelson. They're the first forwards over the boards to kill off penalties. And I think he's doing a really good job there. And he's contributing some offense. I think the last couple of years, everybody was very concerned about Mason Nevers being on this roster because he kind of came in as a guy people thought could score goals, but he just disappeared. And when I went to practice, I would see that production. He would score lots of goals in practice. Bob would always comment, it's like, we see it. It's just got to translate to games. We don't know when, but we know it's coming. Well, this is the year that it's happening for Mason. And he spoke with the media today a little bit. And he said one of the biggest reasons for his confidence this year is he worked on his skating a ton in the offseason and how to keep speed with crossovers. He noticed that at times he would set his skates and he would kind of lose position. And now he's focused on keeping his feet moving with crossovers that allows him to get to that extra space. And so now he can just react instead of thinking and trying to catch up.
I look for Nevers to have at least an A next year, maybe even a C.
We'll see.
I think he will be the perfect senior type of leadership on this team. That could go pretty far because he leads by example and solid kid too, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, that's pretty successful couple weeks, Vigs. A split at Ohio State. Don Lucia always said, sweep at home, split on the road. You'll be in pretty good shape. Expectations a little higher this year. I wasn't too keen on that Ohio State loss, and you weren't either because they had nothing that night. But 3 straight wins, and the speed limit keeps going up. Vig's coming up this weekend, which we'll get to in a little bit. But first, we need to hear from our sponsor.
Jerry Peters here with First Class Mortgage. Winston Churchill once said, "We sleep soundly in our beds because rough men stand ready in the night to visit violence on those who would do us harm." They're powerful words and a great reminder as we approach Veterans Day of the tremendous debt of gratitude we owe our veterans and the families that support them. One of the ways we say thank you is through the VA loan program. VA loans allow veterans to purchase homes with 100% financing, no down payment required, at great interest rates. To find out more, call me today, 612-940-3291. My email address is jerry@firstclasscorp.com, or go to mnmortgage.com and fill out a free online application. Mention you heard about me on the GPL podcast and receive a $500 closing cost credit. Some restrictions apply. My NMLS number is 480200. First Class Mortgages is 322842. This is not an agreement to lock into an interest rate under Minnesota law. First Class Mortgage is an equal housing lender.
And of course, we thank Jerry for being the GPL podcast sponsor. Okay, Vigs, their schedule so far this year has been, besides Lindenwood, pretty darn tough. I mean, you go from, what's it been like top 12 or 13 constant since we played Minnesota State. It's been tough going.
A lot of ranked teams.
Yeah, and this week is going to be no different. Penn State comes in ranked number 8. They're 9-1. Their only loss was that overtime loss last weekend to Michigan at home. After they came back, being down 3-0 in the third. I know a lot of people love to say, their schedule. A lot of home. Here's the thing: they're still winning though, Vigs. And that's the big thing. A lot of people, in the past, they'd say, Minnesota, you played this, and this, and you lost a couple of games. Penn State might play the Cream Puffs a little more, but they do win those games. And that's really all that matters when it comes down to pairwise and everything at the end of the season, Biggs.
As long as you win those games,
yes,
you're going to be in okay shape. I give Guy Godowski a little bit of credit because he went on USCHO the other week, and he was their team of the week, and he was asked a little bit about his schedule. And he said, it's tough. Some teams don't want to play us, and we want to play home games. We sell out Pagula Ice Arena for our home games. It's revenue for us. We want to play the teams around us and reward them and give them a short road trip to play a game. And that's kind of his philosophy. I think college hockey coaches around the country don't like that Penn State can do this, and then they get off to a nice non-conference start because they take advantage of these easier games, and then when they get in the conference schedule, they're in good pairwise shape as long as they do well. So Penn State, good job for them. Minnesota, on the other hand, they play just a brutal schedule because that's what the fans want. They're never going to have a cream puff schedule. And so they're always going to be tested, and I think it's always going to be harder for them to shine early, especially when they have these young teams. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this weekend. Penn State obviously answered the bell against Michigan.
They certainly did, yes.
They've got over 100 goals coming back in their roster. They didn't hardly lose anyone. They've got some graduate school players. They added a couple transfers. The big concern was the goalie. He's played well for them. So it's going to be an interesting weekend.
It will indeed, and I've seen all of the people already in the chat saying, how many shots will they have this weekend now that they have a real stats crew?
It's funny. When they come to Minnesota, they still do put up a lot of shots.
It's over 30 usually.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until, that Big Ten game last year. I want to say they had around 20. They did not shoot. They didn't do their typical Penn State thing when they came here in the Big Ten playoffs.
Yeah, I think Penn State was a little checked out at the end of last year for whatever reason. I don't think they played their best game. They had some guys going in the transfer portal at that point. I just got the sense that Guy was frustrated with his team at the end of the year. He was very short with the media after that series. So not your typical Penn State team. But I think the big challenge for Minnesota this weekend is to deal with the chaos. On the bigger sheet, yes. Penn State style, they're going to take a lot of shots from the boards, which can create challenges, but they are a long ways away. So as long as Justin Close is able to handle those confidently and calmly, and the defensive core gets back and plays the puck and breaks it out, they'll be just fine. The problem is when Penn State, if you kind of get your head cut off and you're running around your own zone, they'll make you pay.
Well, let's make sure that doesn't happen, Biggs.
I will do my best. Oh, wait. I'm not on the bench or on the ice. So Mike Kester talked about it today, and he's just like, we know what we're getting into this weekend, and we are very good at retrieving pucks and breaking it out, and we're ready for the challenge. We know it's going to come, and
I love that.
We're going to get pressure.
I love that right there, Biggs.
Yeah. And I think playing the 7D like they do, you're going to see Lacombe and Faber play those 17, 18 minutes a night, and the rest of the guys are going to play 13 minutes. So they're going to have the energy to retrieve pucks. I think you get in trouble against Penn State when you have defensemen who are a little tired, and as they get to the puck, they're getting forechecked. I think Minnesota's big key to breaking the puck out is they get there with enough time where they can confidently shoulder check and make a good first play.
Speaking of defense, I don't look as closely. Maybe a lot of fans don't look as closely. Has Motzko paired up any guys often, or is he still sort of kind of rotating guys in fairly balanced?
He's rotating him in pretty balanced from what I can tell. I know when Faber got shaken up against Notre Dame on Saturday, I think the second period when he got hit pretty good, looked a little dazed. Motzko said they double checked him not only before the end of the period, but between periods to make sure that he wasn't fibbing on his concussion protocol stuff.
Correct.
They still were kind of balanced with everybody. So I think, we see Lacombe get first power play time. We'll see Kester get power play time. We're seeing Johnson get power play time. Middlestead get power play time. Faber is, the top penalty killer. He's usually getting shifts out against the other team's top players. But I don't think there's a whole lot more manipulation than that. I think they're maybe a little cautious with how they put out Cal Thomas. But they play pretty regular.
There's our guy, Tim Hapke, PSU, shots last year at Mariucci, 26, 37, more typical of them, and 30. So Tim always coming through with some stats for us there.
But I think earlier in the chat, we had a comment, Motzko said that when he first played Penn State, it kind of threw him off a little bit. And I think it gets you out of your routine with Penn State being so eager to throw pucks at the net and not play rushes as typical. Typically, when you're a defenseman and you're playing a rush, you're thinking about, taking the player, playing along the dots, keeping them wide, getting them into the corner. Well, Penn State kind of throws it on you. They aren't really concerned with getting a pass or, challenging that rush. They're looking at how do we create chaos going to the net. So it's almost like they send guys on picks and they throw pucks at weird spots and they shift to come across and scissor just to create confusion. And the other thing that Penn State does is they fly guys out of the zone. So as a defenseman on the offensive blue line, you've got to be cautious that if there's a guy behind you, you see it and recognize it. And you just don't see that in modern college hockey where teams are cheating like that and challenging you. So, you see it sometimes in high school hockey and junior hockey and stuff where teams are doing that, men's league, but you don't usually see it in big time D1 hockey like Penn State does. So it's just a lot different for you to keep an eye on. And your third forward has to play more disciplined. Your defenders have to have head on a swivel.
Well, you've got that chaos, and that's what they want, and then that causes mistakes, and that's where they make you pay. I mean, I watched that third period against Michigan last Saturday, and just tiny little mistakes, and boom, it was tied 3-3. They scored 3 goals in 4 minutes, or 3:90, 3:59, or something like that, and they could make you pay these.
Yeah, and I think what we've seen is Penn State's gotten more skill as they've grown as a program. I think they've done a nice job identifying talent and scores and size and guys who like to play physical, and it creates a challenge for other teams. They've got a different blueprint than Michigan and Minnesota. They've got a different blueprint than Ohio State and Notre Dame. They are very different and they know what they're looking for. And I think they can recruit those players a little bit differently than the big schools can. Guy's a pretty good coach. He's done a nice job at Penn State. I kind of, scoffed at it a little bit with him early on, but I've seen it on the ice and it's a challenge for everybody.
Kind of deviating a little bit here, Viggs. Today was NLI Day today, wasn't it? And like you said on Twitter, like I was reading earlier, typically it's a little quieter with college hockey because a lot of these guys are not with their families. They're away playing USA, CHL. But one guy did sign today.
Yeah, Max Rudd put his pen to paper, and The Stampede tweeted it out or Instagrammed it out. So that's the first one for this class that we can confirm. I was wondering if we'd see something from Waterloo today for Sam Renzel. He's another player that, a high pick by the Blackhawks.
Yeah.
Out of Chaska. Originally, I didn't think he was one of those guys who would be coming right to college, but when he's drafted as highly as he was by the Blackhawks, I think he's going to be on campus next year. We're just kind of waiting for that to happen.
And the problem was, since he hadn't signed any letter of intent, last year Minnesota had to be completely quiet and almost ignore Sam when he was drafted.
Yeah, it's weird how they do that. Most of those guys, when they get drafted, they've at least signed that NLI by that point, but not so much so for Sam. He's developed a ton the last couple of years. He's playing pretty well right now. And then the other guys, there's a lot of development program kids who are committed to Minnesota, and they're at the Five Nations tournament right now. So
tearing it up.
They look pretty darn good. If you have the Hockey TV or the Flow TV and you want to see some highlights, watch Cole Eiserman. He's just very impressive to watch right now. Very Logan Cooley-like with some of his skill and scoring ability.
Can we keep Nyes one more year? Cooley.
I think it all comes down to how they do this year. If they win a national title, you can't really fault any of these guys for moving on to pro deals. But I think Gopher fans would be happy with that.
Yes. Yeah. But, you think back to 2002 and 2003, we also had Thomas Vanek coming in next year. So maybe Eiserman could be the Thomas Vanek coming in.
Well, Eiserman's 2 years away. So Oliver Moore.
Oh, okay.
Oliver Moore is probably the development kid who's going to be coming in next year. He's pretty good. He'll be a first-round pick. I don't think the kids coming in next year are necessarily as highly touted as like the Cooley, Snuggerud type players, but it's a long ways away yet.
It is a long ways away. All right, let's get back to it, Vigs. What is going to happen this weekend? Minnesota's playing pretty well. If they play like they did against Notre Dame, it doesn't matter because it's a completely different style of game that's going to happen this weekend.
I think Minnesota has started to play pretty well against Penn State, and I think a big difference between Minnesota and Michigan is how good the Gophers' blue line is. They've got a lot of skill coming back at that position. Michigan has Luke Hughes, who, let's be honest, outstanding player, would fit right in next to everybody else on the Gopher blue line, but they don't have 5 of him like the Gophers do.
Oh, boy, was it Fantilli? Is that his name?
Fantilli's good too. He's good up front.
He is really good.
But I think Minnesota has just positioned themselves to handle the forecheck and the pressure from Penn State. And the way Mike Kester talked about it, he's like, bring it on. We are ready. This is not the team.
I love that attitude, V.
This is not the team 6-7 years ago that would go into Pagula and you'd have Ryan Collins and Jack Glover going back trying to play pucks with players right on their hip. That's not what we're going to see this weekend. We're going to see guys get there with plenty of time, able to turn and make smart plays and get the puck out cleanly. And that's been the key to what's made Minnesota so good this year. Is they hardly spend any time in their own end until the end of the game when other teams start taking chances and committing more and more guys to support the puck in the offensive zone and take chances.
Gotcha.
So I think we're going to see a sweep. I think we're going to see Minnesota probably get 4 or 5 goals each night. I could see Penn State getting 2 or 3, but I think this is a series where Minnesota is going to get healthy in the scorebook.
Is Hughlin going to get on the board?
Oh, of course. This is a weekend for him. He'll get some points. I think he'll get a goal. He can't play as well as he's playing.
Friday night.
Okay.
Remember, it's Thursday, Friday, so football this weekend. So Thursday, Friday, tomorrow night, gang. I'm thinking sweep too, because you can't really. This is where we need this team to just keep building, keep getting confidence, show us the team they can be, and just keep riding the train up the hill, Viggs.
Yeah, it's never going to be a straight line up. You had the little dip in Ohio State, and now they can keep going up again. So I think it's a good opportunity. I saw in the comments somebody wondering if closer is going to play both games. If I'm Bob, Penn State's a good team to put in a goalie against because they're going to be active. There's going to be a lot of pucks being thrown at the net. Bartoskevich is a big goalie. I think you got to give him a chance at some point again. Put him back in the net.
Arizona State.
Maybe. I just think you got to know what you have there. And, if it doesn't work out, you can always go back to closer. But I just think you can't have him be on the bench the entire half of the year. If you need another goalie, you need to know going into the holiday break that you got to send your recruiters out hard looking for goalies or hard looking for the transfer portal. I just think you can't continue to let it marinate. You got to put them out there. Goalies got to play.
It's worked at Michigan all those years. Play one guy.
You can play one guy down the stretch. Like once you get to the end of the year where you're trying to drive for the championship, yes, play one guy. But the first half of the year, it's okay to play other goalies. It's okay. You don't have to play the same guy every week. Both games.
And then when he gives up goals and the fans go nuts, too bad.
It's part of hockey. He'll figure it out.
It's part of hockey. You working on anything this week, Viggs?
We are. We'll keep it on the down low, though.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Secretive Viggs. It's always the best kind right there. Ooh. Doing some server things coming down the line. Did a little message board upgrade yesterday. It's place running a little slow. It'll pick up. And then, did some domain changes. We're going to be moving servers sometime in December, after they this team shuts it down. It's a good time to do mid-December when no one's, when it's not too busy. So we'll do that then. Other than that, just pushing towards this holiday break. We've got the games this weekend and the 3 weekends in a row on the road, V. So it's going to be a challenging time, especially around the holidays coming up.
Yeah, Gophers didn't get the best schedule in the world for building something. Going on the road for these next 3 weeks, I don't think is helpful for the fan base, but we'll see. I mean, when the Vikings are doing as well as they are, maybe it's okay to send the team on the road for a little bit. But I'm looking forward to having Jess Myers on next week before the Gophers go to Michigan.
I have that in my notes, and Jess said we can have Connor Eargood on as well. We won't do that. It would turn into a complete cluster. A thing of note, I am going to Madison for the first time in 16 years this year, Riggs. Booked it today.
Awesome.
Got myself some tickets. Got a hotel room.
You might see double Culvers.
Culvers was on the Wisconsin ticket, I noticed, too. A little digital ticket. We might see because let's talk about the Badgers in overtime here.
Okay.
Wow. That's all I can say. So that will do it for this episode of the GPL podcast. We will be back next week, and we'll have Jess Myers from the Rink Live joining us as a guest. For those of you currently watching live, we'll have some overtime coming up for you. For the rest of you, we'll see you next week on the GPL podcast.
I almost didn't make it.
Concerned you weren't going to get to it.
It was hard. I had a big growler.
I voted raindrops because I like.
Yeah, raindrops.
There you go. That's a nice. I like that can.
It's a big old, beautiful, beautiful can from Barrel Theory.
And raindrops. Me being an old school guy, it's got that Foster size can, the old Fosters. There you go.
Delicious. Hazy. Barrel Theory does a great job. I have a hard time pouring crowler, so I'm going to have a few sips out of here first. But
Just drink it out of the can.
yeah, I like to see it though.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I guess.
Really good.
Great trip. You know, I'm not big on the big partying. I still like Duluth better for partying than Madison. Actually, Saturday looked pretty full, Mote. But I did get the same seats both nights, 123, halfway up, lower level. No problem at all. And then they use like the same ticket service as Minnesota because it came from the same phone number. Texted
Oh,
me.
like the Pac-Lan?
Yeah, so I could add it to my
Okay.
Apple Wallet or whatever.
Yep.
Short regulation. Hey, sometimes it's nicer to go. We didn't have a guest tonight.
No guests.
Keeping it simple. I mean, kind of one of the goals this year, Steve. Sorry, is not going until midnight for overtime. Ooh, very light colored.
Yeah, hazy.
Yeah.
Hazy. But not as I don't know. There's some haze I don't like. This one does a great job.
Ooh, Klein for the MSU series. Are you going to get Holden again? Oh man, I remember when he first called in, I could see the smoke just billowing, and then he obviously didn't smoke during the podcast, and then just lights it up first thing when we're going.
Overtime. First dart on an overtime.
True.
We almost had Kinger doing the gummy though.
Do they have the third level blocked off? They may actually at the Kohl Center.
Not for Minnesota though.
Maybe not for Minnesota, but I thought I saw some pictures, or maybe I was even watching it or something. Where it did look like some blocking off was happening up top. Lower level Kohl Center is gross. Why? I guess I don't get that, Jared.
Yeah, I am interested how Mariucci's going to handle the humidity tomorrow because the glass is all fogged up today for practice, and you could just tell that there's just a ton of moisture in the air.
Hopefully, if they can keep it closed, it won't be. I mean, just keep as much doors closed because I was here. What was it tomorrow? Temperature is going to drop like a rock in the afternoon.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, it's
okay.
56 at noon, 40 at 3, 31 at 7. So it's going to. I don't know how much that'll affect inside, but by the time the game starts, it's supposed to be around 30.
Okay.
So
we'll see how they do. Tough night for Craig coming up. Craig Floor.
Yeah, well.
Are you going to be there for both games?
I'm probably just going to go to Friday night's game.
I believe that's my plan as well.
Yeah, I thought you were going to Friday last week. And then you weren't.
I was, but then the traffic kind of scared me away. I got a little deep into my pizza night with my family.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
And I heard that it was a disaster getting into the rink because there was volleyball, there was something else, women's hockey, and I heard it was just a parking lot. So I did not want to get through that. And I had my anniversary last weekend, so I wanted to,
you get points that way.
I wanted to keep things, above board there.
Rob and I left Edine or Eden Prairie at 4 and went down, parked the truck I'm in for now. And we just went to Canes real quick, just walked up a block up and over and
that's Mark Coyle's spot, Raising Canes. He's a big Raising Canes fan.
He wasn't there then, but bunch of students in suits though were there. They had a big group there, all ties and suits and everything, and then they left. But
people love chicken.
It was pretty empty last weekend. Not great.
I don't know. I saw somebody on Bear Paw post something about the fan apathy. And he's like, when they win in the postseason, fans will come and show up. It's like they went to the Frozen Four last year, right? They won the Big Ten, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I was going into these postseason tournaments saying, I don't think even if the Gophers win a national title that we're going to see packed houses for these games. This is just kind of the reality of it.
Just the students.
Bring in the students. Try not to schedule games over fall break and things like that, or when the students are away, because they've done a great job. But I think Deer opener was last weekend, so some people missed that. I remember back when I went to games as a younger hockey fan that we had people around us that would give their tickets away for Deer opener. Jess I
was surprised Jess was there because Jess usually misses that weekend, but he was there. He left after the. You guys, you probably were talking Saturday night. He's like, "I'm going to be up there by 5 a.m. or whatever it is."
Yeah, he went right from the end of the game, posted his story, got in the car, drove up north to his hunting spot, got a small little, nap, and then sat in a tree stand.
And was not successful as far as I could tell.
Yep. I heard it's quite expensive to get a deer processed these days. So he was probably like, I don't want to spend the $400 or $500 on processing this deer, so I'm just going to enjoy nature. Right?
And that's what it looked like he did, according to Twitter and Facebook. So Bear Paws a Duluth guy. Yeah.
I know, Steve. I know. But his statement is not unique to Duluth fans. There's a lot of Gopher fans who stay away for whatever reason, ticket prices, success, whatever. The games have been fun this year. Like, the hockey is really good. Like, I thought the Minnesota State series was good for hockey. North Dakota was good. Notre Dame was good.
Those schools who complain, it's an empty arena. The people from St. Cloud, Duluth. Have you guys seen your arena when you're playing Miami, CC,
Omaha?
Yes, empty.
Yeah.
So shut the hell up. Yeah, got myself some swag here.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I'll be checking the mailbox this week.
It was actually a local company that did it too in Jordan. Still cheap though. Jeez.
Yeah, we just ordered some hats for my hockey association from Northern Lids.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a batch of hats coming. Hopefully we get them by Christmas. I've liked their stuff. Maybe we'll do a merch drop here at some point for GPL again.
Oh, start selling those shirts. This thing wasn't cheap. Jeez.
Well, you got to get some quantity.
It's all the setup fees and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't, because I also have. Well, I don't have it here, but a fleece type thing that was really dark.
Mm-hmm.
Puck wasn't going to show up on it, so I'm like, just take the puck off for that one. I don't care. And then I got another T-shirt like this. It's maroon colored with it on, so I'll wear that Friday.
Yeah, we might have to do some design work on Gopher Puck Live and get some merch. We'll see.
Yeah, I got the hats back there. Somebody did a couple years ago. I don't know where Gator got that logo. They like didn't, because obviously you look at the logo in the corner here. It's very diamond shaped. That I don't know what you guys are doing there, Gator. And then we got this puck right here. Well, let me see if I can point to it. This one right here. Tom's is telling me it's very rare.
Okay.
It's the puck they gave away at Media Day for the very first Media Day for the Big Ten season. They never used them, and they never gave them out at any other events. I'm like, well, I'm going to have to bring that puck in here and put it up on display. Just to tease Tom's is like, he's asking people around, you have this puck? You got this puck? I'm like, I'm not giving you my puck. Did anyone see the lacrosse goal in the Wild game? Oh boy, who did it? Mote, I'm not a hoodie guy.
Did Zegras throw a stick in the air afterwards?
And did you confirm that the video game does not have?
Does not have it. You can throw your gloves into the crowd, apparently. And I heard that a player is fond of doing that and then saying on the mic, "Hey, Lee, I need new gloves." Call out to equipment guy, Lee Gresseth.
Tom's is correct. Here, let's bring this. So let's tease them. I find it hard to believe that they never use them because the puck is an official puck. It's a game puck. It's not like, Tom's, he like texted me another one that had a full white backing. I'm like, that doesn't look real. But this, it is an official, oops, this turns right. Official game, or it can be used as an official game puck. And then obviously, as all the logos, obviously no Notre Dame because they didn't exist. Apparently, this is rare, according to.
I got a game puck too.
Ooh, is that 100? No. Yeah, it does say 2013-14.
Yeah, no year on this one.
Yeah, because I'm like using anytime.
Yeah,
What?
Made in Canada, Sherwood.
I did get 100 year. It's kind of hiding behind the other over Gopher hat here, right there. Is a 100 year. We showing our pucks. Yeah, we're whipping out our pucks. Yeah, I guess it's rare according to Towns, but it was never used. So it seems like people who only went to the media day that day have it. I'm like, okay,
Does my wild audio come across on my mic?
a little.
Okay.
I could bring it up if you want.
Found out the game's on TNT tonight, so it's on.
Oh yeah, I well, what was it supposed to start at 9? It was 9:20, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to bother with this.
I was very focused on catching up on my Penn State Michigan series, so I'd have a little more insight on the Nittany Lions. I do that for our listeners.
The only thing interesting with my, I've got 4 100th anniversary pucks. Mine is not signed, but it was game used in a Notre Dame game, so I'm happy with that. I could have kept a puck Friday night when I was in the box shooting. Puck came flying in there, bounce, hit the ground, picked it up, and just held it up, and it seems like the linesman just. He came over literally 30 seconds. Like, oh my gosh, how did I not see that? And then just before that, a stick went flying over our heads and landed on their bench, made a big racket. I turned back to Jeff Winslow, who's the main medical guy. I'm like, what the hell was that? He's like, maybe you should wear a helmet in here.
Jeff will take care of you if you get dinged up, right? He'll just take you down the tunnel.
He's the nicest guy ever, too.
He's a great guy.
Okay, let's see if...
No, they've got a good staff at...
Shot is blocked by Spurgeon.
You hear that?
That pass escapes by McTavish, and he makes a heads-up pass for Strome. Ryan Strome looking for a passing option. The schooling call, who's coming late.
We're going to get in trouble with YouTube for...
I could bring up the video.
That'll get us.
Like I love about YouTube TV because it's streamed, it's on your whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the one dirt is that I know the renovations are being finalized for Mary G for next year.
Mm. Let's get some drawings. You need to start digging in some of those servers. We had a couple renditions that.
Yeah, I don't think these things are going to go public like the other ones did, because the other ones were part of the bidding process, which are public. Mm-hmm. Once the bid is agreed upon, and there's a builder and a design firm, all that stuff now goes quiet from the public front. I could probably do Freedom of Information Act requests to get things, but I'd rather just ask and talk to people. And it sounds like The U is really trying to get as many things into this first project as they can.
This makes sense.
Because there's going to be so much work happening at the rink, and they're going to shut it down for the off season. They're not going to have the graduations there. They're not going to have summer ice there. They're not going to have model camp there. Or it's not the model camp. It's the youth hockey hub thing now. But they're not going to have any of that at Mariucci next year. So why not try to do as much as they can? The one interesting thing is they're having to order all the stuff for the upgrade now, which is very rare at the U.
So obviously concrete's different, stuff like that. But things like you've got boards, you've got glass, you've got materials like I guess the PEX or the copper, the stuff that's underneath. I mean, that's the kind of stuff you're talking about there.
Yeah, like all the stuff that they're going to use for the shrink the rink and redoing it. They're trying to get ordered now so that they don't have any delays in construction. Can you imagine October 1st comes around and they're not done?
Correct.
Right. So
and since they're not going to do graduations too, that will
right, as soon as the Frozen Fours, as soon as the team leaves for the Frozen Four,
as soon as the season's over at home,
they're going to start construction. So they're going to try to get done as much as they can. But yeah, I mean, bars in the rink, new seating, maybe a new entrance for people who pay extra with special seats, special seating along the glass, maybe some tabletop type things, maybe like a loungy type thing. There's a lot of interesting things there that could happen.
Okay.
Oh, and Darren, let me be quick on my mouse here. There is a third jersey coming.
Sweet.
But it's in the ocean still. It's on a container ship.
It's
still
coming.
China. So they will have a third jersey coming. I know I've gotten this on Twitter a couple times from people. It's just they don't have them yet. So
okay, Vigs, I've got what we had for the new dimensions here at Mariucci. Let's see if I can zoom in on this a little bit more. Come on. It's not liking me right now.
But, okay, you're doing great.
Let's go. Let's see. Let's just try to go bigger here. Go big or go home. Let's see if I can make it wider too. Okay, so we've got 89 feet wide. Do we think that's going to happen?
Yeah, we think so.
Okay.
I mean, that's the latest architecture thing.
Here's the note: the corner radii will change from 20 to 22, so they won't be as deep here.
Yeah, I think NHL is 24.
I think it's 28, actually.
28? Okay.
I remember Gensel saying he wanted to go to 24.
Yeah.
Maybe they couldn't quite do it. If they don't do a lot of the seating upgrades, you can kind of see here, some areas they end up adding 2 rows down close. Here's where maybe some of the premium seating will be. Hopefully.
Yeah.
That's what
you're thinking like kind of like leather type couch seating access right on the glass with maybe like some special concessions and bar type things. And I've heard like some things like in the Zamboni area, like special like club type amenities for people down there.
Yeah.
I don't know how that'll work because that's a access area for officials and things like that. But
and maybe they go back to the the road team coming in here. Who knows?
I don't think the Gophers want that.
Probably not.
They don't want teams because all that area, like if you look at where the red area denotes area of work in the bottom left, that's about where the team area starts behind everything underneath the stands.
Yeah.
So about at the corner.
Yeah,
so
about where the red line is here. About, yeah.
Yeah, like at the goal line, that's where the team area starts for the Gophers, and they have like their lounge and things like that.
Whereas in the past, the locker room used to be, well, not close, but in this similar area right here.
Yeah.
Here's the Zamboni doors. It's going to change the angle here coming in. It looks like they still want to have an access here to the penalty box. But the student area will stay the same because the ends will stay the same. This corner here, they got one row in the corner, and then you've got 2 rows coming just behind this access area. Obviously, the whole penalty box comes in, a couple rows added there. Going along the other side is a similar kind of mirror, but they fill in a little more here. That's about it that I could see here. Come on, come back to me. There we go. One thing we had to. Here is one of the concepts that they had for those seating, just concepts now that they had, some nice seating. Obviously, they just kind of drew in something here. Interesting that the top part up here, what is.
Yeah. I mean, that's like your bar option
Yeah.
is where you've got special area where you can get drinks and then you can stand and you can watch the game and talk to your friends. Because I got to tell you, at Gopher football, the plaza area during a game is super popular. It's crowded at halftime. It's second half of a non-conference game. That's where a lot of people will go and hang out and talk and have a few extra drinks.
Well, one thing that's interesting, though, is that this angle shows it's almost as if this is this row of fans here is on the penalty box side, and on the non-Zamboni side. Because are you going to go and cut the students off by cutting in multiple sections there?
No, if anything, I feel like they want to expand the students.
And
from what I've heard,
and I've been trying to tell Craig Floor, turn them to bench seats, turn them into bench seats. Then you can really cram them in there because they stand the whole game anyway.
Yep. And the people who are paying for the front row don't care that they can't see the game. So, Corey, that's not a seat for you. That's a seat for someone who just wants to be there.
Correct. Oh, we're getting a little feisty with the game here again.
Yeah, Kaprasov getting some punches thrown.
He's not even playing, is he?
Well, he's in.
I thought he was.
They gave him a roughing penalty.
Oh, you see, I
not a cross-checking, not
pay attention.
Yeah. You were just tied to the election, right? You were just like glued in. You're like really focused.
I was actually working on the site last night.
Yeah. So $5,000 for Kaprasov, no suspension. He's playing.
Yeah, I know. Some guys were talking about the Badgers. There's nothing official, obviously, but when I even tweeted at Todd Molesky, I'm like, "Are you sure they wouldn't want to get rid of him mid-season?" Because earlier he's like, "No, not going to happen. They just got rid of a football coach," and that's probably true, Viggs. But if they keep stinking, I mean, this is the first time they've been 0-6 starting a league conference going back to the 1950s. Troubles brewing. This is worse than Eves.
Trouble in River City. I was just going to look at the Badgers schedule to see who they have coming along here. I mean, they got Long Island and Lindenwood here, but then they've got Michigan and Minnesota. So they could very easily not have a Big Ten win going into Christmas.
Oh, boy.
Right? I got to think Michigan sweeps them. If Minnesota doesn't sweep,
they will.
So
that's one of the reasons why I want to go to Madison.
The Badgers 0-10 in the Big Ten going into the holidays,
and that's the time to get rid of them. You have a little bit of time. Throw in an assistant. Just throw somebody else to the Wolves. I don't know. I mean, if they go 0-10,
I don't see how they win a Big Ten game going into Christmas. I really don't. I mean,
all right.
The only way it happens if like Jared Moe totally stands on his head in a revenge game,
steals a game,
and steals one.
He did that when we went to Madison last year, but
yeah, he looked really good.
And then
it's gonna take something special.
What did we put up? What was it? 8-0 the last time we played them.
Yeah.
I don't think he gave up all of them, but I think he gave up like 5 or 6 at least in that one.
I mean, this Gopher team, their defense is so good. Like, I mean, they kind of almost came back against Ohio State. They just got too far out of it. They still 6-4 is not awful.
So I've got the game on here, the Wild game. What do you think of the boards thing?
I hate it, especially the moving graphics.
I would say the moving graphics are not good at all.
They're terrible.
I like the technology. I think it's kind of cool. I think if you keep it clean, and a lot of times they just have clean, almost looking like regular boards.
Yeah.
And like you said, if they don't have the motion, I think it's fine. It keeps it nice.
Yeah. Sometimes on the broadcast it looks a little hazy, like something's weird with
blurry?
the boards. Yeah, there's something. Maybe it's me. I might be having too many raindrops or something, but
was it really 5-0 and 8-0 last year? Wow. Let's bring up the schedule here.
Memory's going.
Tell me about schedule. I think I can bring up last.
The last series was 5-0, 8-0.
Oh, he's right. Ouch. Wow.
The one at Madison, they won 4-3 in overtime.
That was
the Friday game.
That was the game where Wisconsin scored on themselves on a delayed penalty.
Yeah,
I was watching it from the bar.
The Gophers got the empty netter or no. Yeah, I don't know.
But boy, 5-0, 8-0. And then they're going to come here and haven't won a game. Oh boy!
What's amazing to me is that Wisconsin is still recruiting pretty well. Like they're still getting good players. Like I still can't believe that they got Strammel. Strammel's a heck of a player. He's really good, and they've got some good players coming in. Like Whitelaw still signed with them today. Lewandowski's gonna be there.
I kind of like those orange jerseys.
Finley signed today. I mean, I don't know. I was just talking to somebody about this though. Wisconsin, ever since that Scott Wheeler article where he kind of embedded with the Keandre Miller crew, and he got a lot of insight from the players, they are just mercenaries. Like they are there as a developmental program. They are not there to win. The only reason they had that successful season was because they had Caulfield, and he was a transcendent player who could win on his own. They weren't winning because they had great structure or buy-in. There was some of that, like they were blocking more shots, and I thought they were a little bit more disciplined. But I think some of that might be in the locker room.
Players do that,
like Caulfield.
Yeah, when you're playing well, you just tend to do some of those things better.
You're like, oh, we can win this game if I block a shot. We can go to the NCAA tournament if I actually work hard. And now it's just like all about skill development and ice time. Like I'm sure that's perfect for Lucius, as someone was saying. Hopefully Lucius is enjoying his time in Madison. He probably is. Some kids don't care about winning as much, and they're okay. They just want to get ice time, and they want to get better individually.
Okay, I do like the power play time on the ice, though. I like that feature.
No, that's good, but that's never been bad.
No, and that's
that's NFL technology
when they started covering. And I do like how sometimes they do tell us, hey, it's not like the glowing puck, but they're like, that shot was 93 miles an hour. I like those kind of stats when they just pop up on the screen.
Well, I like the top speed stuff and the amount of ice covered by a player, and that I think that advanced stuff is cool.
I still think one of these streaming services could do so much better, Viggs, and not think of it as like a linear type of broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you bring up a board and say, click, I want to see a different camera angle. Click, I don't want to see the scoreboard all the time. There's technology there that could be used. I mean, obviously they're using a ton of technology. I mean, we see these boards, they're not, they work. There's another Geico guy.
I still think the bandwidth required to do some of that stuff is just not there yet. Our infrastructure in the country can't handle it. Maybe in Japan they could figure it out.
Our structure's gotten a lot better though, because man, I could pretty much stream anything right now.
Yeah, but could you handle a really big stream with all those options? Goal against here.
Yeah. I do like
Corey's upset about that point percentage. How about Motzko? He lost $50,000 because of that. Did you ever hear that story when I told him that?
Oh, when they went on percentage point instead of
point percentage,
he went on win percentage or something.
Win percentage. It cost him the #1 seed in the conference title, and we were asking him. He's like, I don't care. It's like, do you know it costs you $50,000? He's like, what? Gotta get a better agent.
His agent's doing just fine, Biggs. Himself, his lawyer.
Himself, yeah. Well,
yeah. So it's going to be interesting, boy. If they do go, well, we'll have Todd here. I love watching. If I'm online, I love watching Todd's
post game
Facebook stuff he does. If you're not following him, follow him. Watch his stuff. He can be brutally honest. He will read your questions. He will acknowledge as much as he can. I think that's when I think I might have said to him in one of his post games is, does he survive the season? He's like, yeah, I just don't see it, but don't get rid of him. But he might feel differently now, but he does. He's very interactive. I obviously one of our favorite guests on here. I always look forward to it.
He's probably one of the most honest of the big writers that cover college hockey. I think he's got the right colored glasses to do his job. As much as we like Schlossman, he gets a little green tint to the lenses he has on.
He does,
which is what makes him good at that beat.
Yeah, it's perfect for that beat. It really is. It's hard to know, but there's still quite a fan in Todd. He hides it very well.
Mm-hmm.
But you do notice it sometimes when if these guys can get to games that they don't have to cover, it's really interesting. I mean, what was it? It was a couple of years last season. Chris Vosters was in Mariucci the day before he was going to broadcast for Big Ten Network, and that's when you and I were both with him up in the press box. And he says, "This is the first time I've got to sit and just enjoy a game in forever."
Mm-hmm.
And he really seemed to enjoy it. And I wonder if Todd ever gets the chance to sit down and just enjoy a game. Maybe at home he does, but
I think sometimes at the tournaments he does a little bit.
Okay.
Because he'll sometimes do like a more editorial role at some of those things. At least he used to.
Brother, Todd was in denial in 2020 about coffee all over. When we asked him, I think he could stick around. No, he's not sticking around. Brother's rules. Oh, boy. All right, Biggs, I'll be awfully disappointed this weekend if we can't kick some Penn State ass.
Yeah, Corey, by the way, Whitelaw signed today, so he's committed. I think you can't flip like transfer portal until you're on campus. So he's going to be there. Unless the new coach were to release him.
Well, he can decide to change if the coach leaves.
I don't think so.
I thought that was,
they've been talking about that.
Yeah, we got DeMarkey that way. DeMarkey went with Lucia from Colorado College.
I think you and Eric are wrong. Unless
DeMarkey was a CC guy.
CC might have let him go.
It's possible, yes, but I'm saying he came with Lucia from CC.
Okay.
Was that not a goal then?
No, well, they reviewed it. There was a offside or something.
Oh, okay. I've just seen the replay now for that Zegras goal.
Yep.
He's terrible. If a coach leaves, NLIs change. Wouldn't be the first time around. He is a lawyer, Viggs.
Yeah.
He knows how to speak like a lawyer, too.
And Ben Myers was committed but not signed. There's a difference. Like, once you put pen to paper, like the guys are doing today, the only way you get out of it typically is if you've signed your NLI and the school breaks their agreement with you, where they don't offer you the scholarship percentage that was promised, or they don't have a spot on the roster for you for that fall. Like, that's why Cruikshank didn't go to Wisconsin. He went to CC.
There's one. I knew DeMarque was something like that, but yeah, because it was obviously that happened over that summer, but the rules have changed, and that was over 20 years ago.
20 years ago,
it was. Yeah, it must have been. When's his first year? 99 or something like that. 98, somewhere in there.
I do know that there's been talk about if the coach leaves, the NLI would change, but I'm pretty sure they're locked in. They can ask to be released from their NLI. They can ask. Like Lucius.
Was Ranta released?
Ranta was released because he didn't pass his English entrance exam test, which I'm told is very difficult for a Finnish speaking person. Because of some way the English language and the Finnish language are. So he didn't qualify for school, so he couldn't go to Wisconsin. So
gotcha.
Just typical stuff. Yeah, there you go. Brever's wrong. I overrule you, or I object. I strenuously object. Oh, you strenuously object. Oh, well then.
Oh God, that is
it's your point, counselor.
I love that movie. I love Kevin Pollak in that movie. He's great. You, Lieutenant Weinberg. When you rip it on me, I'm just a little part here, and you rip it on me. Oh boy. Oh, yeah.
So I'm very curious. I'm trying to find out if Staudacher and Closer are interested in coming back for another year. I have a hard time thinking I will get that information clearly, but I'm trying to find out for our GPL podcast overtime crew. Because I think
I saw some speculation about that this week. Was it on the
board? People are asking, can they come back? And yes, they can. Anyone who played during those COVID years can get an extra year, but it's very complicated in hockey because of the way scholarships are allocated, and the school has to be able to fit them into the bill, and you can't go over the scholarships anymore. If that makes sense to you, like you're still limited.
Those rules have changed.
Yep. Because there was that one year where you could go over, and like North Dakota went over their scholarship limits.
Kirill. Yeah, the guys are talking in chat how he's about to score, whereas obviously YouTube's always at least
a little behind.
30 seconds behind.
Nice. So now you know how everyone feels when you're tweeting at the games and they're watching at home.
Because sometimes we can get the tweet out before
the
the
TV.
Standard 6 to 10 seconds for satellite and cable transmission. That's fun.
Well, Kulikov's playing for Anaheim tonight.
Did that go between his legs?
Right off of Kulikov's shoulder.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Kaprasov tipped it into Kulikov. He's trying to put it in his face. Just kidding.
I see it now, yeah.
Russian on Russian. Corey, I don't know if Muster's coming. I don't know if he's a college guy. He might be a major junior guy, and he's just waiting to let people know that until after the season because he's a good national program guy. I don't know for sure, but I think it's very telling that he is one of the few kids his age who hasn't committed anywhere yet. And maybe it could be on Closer coming back. I don't know, but if he wanted to play college hockey, I would say you're going to get 50-50, if not more, against Bardo next year. If I was recruiting,
And the thing is, they've obviously got more leeway with the goalie position because they've got 3 goalies right now. They're not going to have 3 goalies, so they could bring him back.
As much as Weese sounds like a good guy, or Weiss, I still don't know for sure. I don't think he's a viable player right now.
No, he's a practice goalie.
He's a practice goalie, like Leprade, or there's been a couple.
I mean, there's always one.
Solely. And maybe in a pinch, he could come in and play a couple games, but he's not someone Minnesota wants to have as their day-to-day goalie.
Darren, how's the alum turnout been this season? Ran into Vanek? Yep, there have been quite a few. Tell us about your little run-into. Who'd you ran into a recent former player at the North Dakota series?
I ran into Brandon McManus in the club level. He was with the Motzko family. Ella was there, and he was with that crew, and he seemed in great spirits. He was just telling me that he doesn't realize when you're playing what it's like. The atmosphere, the fans, how loud it is. And he was there for the North Dakota game, and he's just like, I am just jacked up right now. He was so excited to be there. He had an injury that didn't allow him to start training camp with a team coming into the season. So he's still training with Brokaw Hockey. That's somebody that works with a lot of players like the Pitlicks on skill work. And he's hoping to look at getting a deal here pretty soon, probably in the next week or two. But he was in good spirits, and it was a cheat day,
or wasn't he?
Yeah, he said I may have gone to Omaha, but I'm a gopher at heart, and there just wasn't a spot for him to come back for an extra year, and he wanted to do it and take advantage of it, and he had a great year in Omaha. He did really well there, scored lots of goals, and hopefully he gets that pro contract here this week.
No yawning. Yeah, I'm tired. Middle of the night last night, 2 smoke detector circle. Beep, beep, beep. And it was the one just outside my bedroom that started it all. And it said carbon monoxide.
Maybe you shouldn't have had a dart before bed.
Actually, when I of course it stopped right away. I'm like, yeah, I'm not feeling sick. My blood oxygen looks good according to this. Only one of the 3 that have that made that sound. And then I looked on it and it says, they're only good for 5 to 7 years. And it's already been like at least year 8. So I'm like, ordered a couple online.
Billy, closer, played like 60 games a year in a Canadian Junior League. Weese was playing in like the NH3. It's basically like not great high school players who are wanting to play next year post high school. Totally different situation. If he turns into that, great. But closer actually somehow played a ton of games. He was like the goaltender of the year in his league. Different situation. Bob is so lucky. Boynton still hasn't played a minute for AIC. And I get they have like some older players in front of him, but
he does need to figure the goalie thing out, though.
Yeah,
and just get a half decent guy. It doesn't have to be Rob Stauber or John.
Why can't you have a good top guy coming in?
Well, yes, we've talked about that over the years. And how don't we ever get those guys? It's been strange.
It's weird though. Like I looked back at the last 10 Frozen Four championship goalies, and it's a weird mix of guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like Hunter Shepard was not viewed as a top goalie when he was at Grand Rapids. He just wasn't. He went and played in the NAHL for a couple of years, and then he goes to Duluth, and he's amazing. It's very rare for these top goalies to backbone championship teams. The guy at Denver right now, the Swede, can't think of his name right now.
I'm certainly not going to remember.
Yeah. He's pretty good, but there's just not a ton of guys. Yeah, Cam Johnson wasn't a great goalie. He wasn't very good. Yeah, Corona. Cam Johnson wasn't very good after they won a championship at North Dakota. So, a team like Minnesota this year is a program where they're going to prop up Closer's numbers a little bit, and they got to take advantage.
So I just noticed this comment now from the girlfriend. She must have been watching the show. All Scandinavian languages are hard. I speak Danish and fuck. It's like a lot of. It's just.
Ja, jeg kan sprake lidt norsk. Jeg heter Viggo. Jeg liker å spille ishockey, drikker øl.
Oh, see, there you go.
Mm-hmm. It's like doesn't sound like a language.
No, it sounds like you're trying to clear your throat.
Yeah.
At least what she talks about Danish.
Yeah. Well, they're all kind of the same.
Minnesota.
All right.
Goalie 5'10". Are you kidding me? Wasn't
LaFontaine and Robson were pretty good tall goalies.
6'1" or 6'2".
Hauser was big.
Hauser was
Briggs was good, big.
Shearhorn wasn't bad,
but he's short.
He's maybe 6, but everybody's short compared to UVs.
That's true. Measure myself against others by height. Yeah, Wilcox is good, but he was shorter.
Who was the goalie we had and then just left? I mean, not even left, but just was lined up to come here and he never did. 5 or 6 years ago, I can't remember. Just disappeared, and he was like, "No, he's never going to come. He's never going to make it here." No, not going to remember. No way.
I don't know. I know Gino Pashora is listed on the pipeline because he hasn't technically.
Was it Edquist? No, I don't think it was Edquist.
No, Edquist made it.
Yeah, I'm
at BU.
It might have even been a kid who was drafted, and I just went.
Okay.
I'm losing my mind. I can't remember, but that's okay. Hammy would know.
Hammy would know. As long as it was a Gensel recruit.
Yeah, Ottinger never was here, I don't believe.
No.
I can't remember. Well, it's all good.
Okay.
The thing is, you don't have, in college, it helps to be a big goalie. You don't have to be.
You don't have to be. If your team is good enough in front of you.
Our little guy from Apple Valley went on to play pretty well at North Dakota.
Goring? Carl Goring?
Yep.
Goring?
Carl Goring.
Yeah. So it would be nice to have a Spencer Knight type goalie or John Gillies type goalie like at Providence.
Elliott.
Yeah. It'd be a luxury. I mean, the one thing is I think it's hard recruiting goalies because are you really going to develop at Minnesota where you don't see 30, 40, 50 shots on a regular basis where you have a lot of structure in front of you? Hard to know. Right? I mean, how many college goalies go on to be successful pros anyway? So, I don't know. Very challenging. Challenging position to recruit. It's voodoo.
North Dakota.
Huh?
Quite a few from Wisconsin and North Dakota. Elliott's still playing, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's not starting anymore, but he's still playing.
Yeah.
Belfort. He was a terrible goalie.
It's voodoo. Voodoo, the goaltender position. And I would take Cooley's and Iserman's and Nyes and Stuggards every day of the week in Minnesota. And Ryan Johnson's and Jordan Leopold's and Paul Martin's and Jackson LeCombs.
He's asking if he thinks he's going to get into coaching. I think this is kind of his thing right now.
Paul?
Yeah, he's trying to figure out if he wants to do it or not. Maybe he goes away for a couple of years and
I mean, that's the thing. It's hard to transition from whatever into coaching. There aren't a lot of avenues. I feel like he's kind of hoping that the NCAA allows programs to hire more people And maybe he goes into a recruiting role, or maybe goes into player development or something like that. Because that's something the NCAA is looking at doing, is expanding the number of people a hockey program can hire. Paid, yeah. So we'll see.
Because he's on the bench quite often.
Yeah.
Especially the last couple of years when someone would be out recruiting, he would be the defensive coach out there.
Mm-hmm. And Miller is a guy that likes to go on the road recruiting. So
we'll start seeing him soon because, high school leagues are starting up soon. And obviously some of the other leagues have started up already. But
it's usually because USHL plays a lot of games Friday, Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So that's usually the deal, is that
high
school games are usually Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And so coaches can go see people Saturday afternoon and then come to the games. It's the USHL games that they want to get to on the weekends.
Gosh, I wish I could remember that goalie commit. Driving me crazy.
Call it.
What?
Pull the shoot. Ready to pull a shoot? GPL Podcast, episode 222. I think it's time. Intermission. We'll let everybody enjoy the third period without our commentary.
Yeah. I'm all for that. I'm all for ending at 11 o'clock. Totally. Just because.
Keep digging on the rink and on extra years for people. I'll see what I can do.
Jupe seems ready to bail. I'm always ready to bail.
A lot of yawns over there. I mean, how old are you? How old are you?
50.
50. That's right. 50 years old.
I'm 50 years old. No, like I said, I was awake. When the smoke detector goes off in the middle of the night, it tends to wake you up for a while.
Do you have coffee after noon? Is that what's keeping you up? You had AARP coffee? Do you know you don't have to be a certain age to join AARP?
I heard that.
Yeah, you can be in your 20s and join. Yep.
Here's the paperwork.
Here's the offer.
Only 2 years for $20. There you go.
Are we gonna do a big breakdown on Thanksgiving? Are we gonna get down to business?
We need to have a guest for that, Dan, because it's Arizona State. Who do we get for that?
Greg Powers. We'll get him on.
Who?
We'll get the coach for ASU. We'll get him on. He seems to be a very amicable guy.
But we should be able to get Nyes on. Let's get Nyes on.
Right. What's going on that night?
All right. Check. What we should do, keep it a short show. Get Deutsch on overtime.
He might be busy.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah. No, maybe we should just do a Manning cast overtime. Just send out invites to every one of our regular guests, so we can have a little holiday party
while I'm getting drunk.
Yeah, we could do a little holiday party.
Get Ramsey back. I wonder if Ramsey was a good guest. Shearhorn.
Shearhorn's good.
Maybe I get Shearhorn. I like him.
We need someone who's going to tip some bevies with us.
Maybe both.
So Todd's out.
Both Shearhorn and Ramsey, because they seem to go back with each other.
Maybe they'll get Sammy Walker on.
Oh,
Sammy, come have beers and tell Vigo how you really feel. How do you like me now? We have the how do you like me now moment.
Wilcox on it.
Yeah. Hauser.
Oh, Hauser, that's right.
No.
What are you thinking?
So, yeah.
All right.
That's fine.
You guys have a great night. We'll catch up with you next week. We'll have Jess on next week. Go watch the third period of the Wild. Hopefully they can pull this one out. Later, gang.